we're going to go over some of the most popular things that, according to you guys, you want to review. So, we're going to go easy ones first, because those are relatively easy. So, first off, Immigration Act of 1965, which most of you won't know unless you went and did the extra lecture, because that was part of the extra lecture. Basically, what this allowed is it allowed immigrants in America, or immigrants abroad, to come into America, and it basically destroyed quota systems. So this is the end of the quota system, and this is where we get massive Latino as well as Asian immigrants into America in the 1960s. Yeah.
So what are the chances that will be on the test?
Could be an immigration. But if you remember, this also is also in relation to the Dundalk grape strike and all that. It basically is the increase of Latino immigration. It was on the next lecture. Okay. Détente. Easing of relations, easing of tensions between the USSR and America. This is what we have following Vietnam. This begins, Jacob, and you're going to want to probably know this because the AP exam is in 2 days. Okay, great. So, détente is the easing of relations between USSR and America. This kind of signals the end of the Cold War. So we're going to ease our tensions. We're not going to go off to war with people. Then as soon as the 80s are done, the Berlin Wall falls and the Cold War is going to end. Détente is just easing of relations and tensions between the USSR after Vietnam. Counterculture. Counterculture is bred after the anti-Vietnam movement. So anti-Vietnam, Vietnam vets who don't like Vietnam, and this is basically a fancy word for the hippie movement, and you can use either term. Basically, it's the peace, love. I mean, that's all you want. This is where you get the massive uprising of the hippie movement, anti-Vietnam protests, drug use, which I doubt that they will ask, but that's kind of what they were known for. But all of that's going to be the 70s, and it's going to be bred out of anti-Vietnam. It's just anti-Vietnam hippie movement. That's all you got to know from counterculture. And probably in all the movies you've seen, you probably will be able to know counterculture. Or Forrest Gump is a great example of counterculture. Forrest Gump, I will tell you, is a fantastic historical movie because it literally covers so many events. Like ping pong diplomacy, which will never be on the AP exam, but ping pong diplomacy, we legitimately sent teams of ping pong tournament people over to China, and it caused us to ease relationships with China. Ping pong diplomacy. Okay. Yeah, ping pong diplomacy is a legitimate term. Okay, American system. Henry Clay, John Quincy Adams. Henry Clay is the Secretary of State, and he advocates for the American system, which is the improvement of internal improvements in America. This is where you get roads and canals. So if you were doing the AP practice exam on Saturday, and you saw the one stimulus that had all the roads, and it said, why would this migration occur? That's an American system question. It's basically we want to internally improve by improving our roads and canals and transportation systems. Quasi-War. Quasi-War was following the Revolutionary War right at the end of the 1700s. Basically, it's a war between France and America over naval things. It's basically, I like to say it as, you know how when there's an earthquake, there's aftershocks? This is the aftershock of the Revolutionary War. Basically, it's when we're trying to figure out who we are as a country. We do these like mini war with France. We almost declared full war with France and with England, and we never did. Basically, you just need to know trade war, oceans. You guys okay? All right. No, I'm more talking to the people who like to talk to other people. But you're going to be a great Cade. Okay. Political machines. So political machines is a progressive era. It's about the trust. Basically, the political machines are going to be the politicians that are going to get paid under the table or obviously over the table with the monopolists. So basically, this is where Henry Ford, or I should say Henry Ford, let's do Andrew Carnegie or Vanderbilt are going to go off and pay the mayor of New York so they get extra tax breaks. It's basically going to be the attempt to try to get your way and pay people to be able to get whatever you want. Yeah.
So J.P. Morgan worked for this because he might fail that.
Yep. J.P. Morgan would be involved in this, exactly. So political machines are going to get taken down in the progressive era. This is where you get the trust busting, and also Boss Tweed. If you remember the picture of the guy that goes like this, and his head is a money bag, That's Boss Tweed. So Boss Tweed was a major political machine. He paid off the people, or he got paid by different people to make different laws, and eventually he gets kicked out of the government. Okay. Monroe Doctrine. Monroe Doctrine is going to be expansionism. Basically, we cut off in 1820, Europeans can no longer deal with America. So we create a line in the Atlantic Ocean that says Europe cannot interfere with American affairs, including Latin and South America. However, does that ban America from doing it? No. It's part of the reason everyone said, why are we being imperialist? Yeah.
Wait, why? How do they enforce that?
Basically said we'd go to war with anybody that tries to come into America. So we cut it off from everybody else but us. That's what the Monroe Doctrine does. Northwest Ordinance. Positive, or what most people say is a positive of the Articles of Confederation. So this is where they're going to establish the Northwest Territory and basically make it into so that you can be able to move west. That's pretty much what it did. This, if you ever get last year, the required SAQ was Articles of Confederation. So I highly, highly doubt you will have an SAQ on it. But if you do, positives is Northwest Ordinance or Northwest Territory because it establishes and allows people to be able to move west. Okay, Roe v. Wade, abortion. Easiest way to remember it. Roe v. Wade is going to be where they're going to say that women do have a choice and you cannot ban abortion in America. It begins, I shouldn't say it begins because it's feminine mystique. It's probably, it's one of the top 5 most important Supreme Court cases in American history. And Roe v. Wade also is the major accomplishment of the feminist era in the 70s, 73. Assuming I'm answering everybody's questions because nobody's saying anything, so we'll hope for the best. Okay. I'm assuming this says Dred Scott decision. So, Dred Scott decision is going to be in the 1950s. That was that slave that goes on a trip with his slave master. 1850, sorry. I was going to say slave master, right? That's right. Anyways, so he's on at this trip with his slave master. While he's on this trip with his slave master dies in a free state. He says, therefore, he is free. However, the Dred Scott decision, basically, it's very detrimental to African American rights. It says, no, you are not free. And not only that, as a slave, you have no rights. As an African American, you have no rights. The Compromise of 1820 was illegal and is now gone. And so basically, it's pro-slavery. Yeah.
But this was the cause of the Civil War.
Oh, yeah. This is 100% the cause of the Civil War. Miss Ray put island hopping because 10 people asked me about it and nobody put it on the board. So, island hopping, jumping from island to get to Japan in World War II. It's a war tactic. The 2 war tactics you need to know is D-Day and island hopping. Hopping island to island to get to Japan in order to defeat them. Detente we've already talked about. Okay. Quota system. 2 different quota systems. Well, 1 major quota system. I saw some people put quota system in the late 1800s with Chinese exclusion. That is not true. Quota system is 1920s. So 1920s, we're going to say that only a certain amount of immigrants can come in from certain countries. Nick. You got it? Okay, good. Please be quiet. Gabe needs this. Right, Gabe? Yeah. So anyways, the quota system is going to limit the immigrants coming in, and it's basically an attempt to stop communism from coming into America. Quota system lasts all the way up until 1965 with the Immigration Act. It was anti-communism and anti-immigrant and very, very nativist. This is like my 40-second descriptions. Okay. Free Soil Party is going to be with the Mexican Cession. So Mexican Cession happens. We have all this new territory. And we have to determine, is it going to be slave states or free states? The Free Soil Party is going to advocate for not necessarily changing in the South, but any new territories are free soil, as in no slavery in the territories. Also abolitionist. Okay. Xyz Affair. You will probably, with the rewrite, never get XYZ Affair. However, what happens with the XYZ Affair is this is right before War of 1812 or right during 1812. Basically, what happens is there's an agreement that is made with France. That's a super secret agreement that France makes that apparently America did not know about. Regardless, though, this agreement basically involved the trade in arms and money. Yeah.
Is this part of the Quasi-War?
No, this is after the Quasi-War.
Wait, so is the War of 1812 the same thing as Mr. Madison's War?
I've never heard it referred to as Mr. Madison's War. I don't know. Anyways, XYZ Affair basically shows corruption in the government. People thought that America knew about it and was making secret deals with France. You will probably, this used to always be on the AP exam with the rewrite. It's never been asked. So I highly doubt it will be on there. Think foreign affairs. Okay, so we'll start with 1890 to 1920, which actually looks like it was written by the same person. But okay, so this is a couple things. End of the Gilded Age. Okay, so we have industrialists, monopolies, tenements, growth of cities, immigrants coming over from Eastern Europe and Asia, living in tenements, sweatshops, poor working conditions. All of this contributes to the next part, which is the Progressive Era. Changing America for the better, helping out the immigrants, stopping the trusts. So really this time period is Gilded Age, immigration, and Progressive Era. Well, yeah. I'm assuming from this time frame, though, I'm assuming that's what they're talking about, because that's the time frame of period 6, or period 5. But yes, also World War I happens during this time. Did that solve it, Zoe? Did you have a question? You raise your hand. Okay. All right. Okay. Almost done. Oh, look, it's up there again.
It's also to the left.
Okay, did the same person just do it over and over again? Okay. Regardless, all you got to know about it is those 3 time periods. Gilded Age, Progressive Era, and immigration. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. Reconstruction. Basically what you need to know is following Reconstruction, it's basically going to be a failure. We're going to attempt to reconstruct America. It's going to fail. Jim Crow laws. When we talk about the South, we basically pardoned a lot of the people. We put the military into the South, and Hayes is going to take that away, which basically the South goes right back to how it did before, but instead of slavery, they have sharecropping. Yeah.
What are the difference between the 3 periods?
You won't be asked that. I can guarantee it. Yeah.
What is the name of the compromise that Hayes does that into?
Compromise of 1877. I will tell you, if you get a Reconstruction essay, don't do it. Unless the other 2 are things you absolutely don't know, don't do Reconstruction. It's the hardest one to do essays on. It's always the lowest scoring essays. Okay. Mexican American versus Spanish American. Those are very, very different. So, Mexican American, movement west, going into Texas, Mexican cession. Basically, it's conflict with America moving west into other territories. We acquire those territories in the Mexican American War. Spanish American War, we begin to move over and be imperialistic. Economic gains as well as social gains, as in trying to help people who are less than us, as in social Darwinism. 1830s to 1840s. Spanish American War is 1898. Ashton. Okay. Populist Party is farmers. Farmers can't pay for their mortgages. They lose their farms. Debt. Silver. Wizard of Oz. Populism.